Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll wait another few minutes for the clock to roll past the hour before getting started. Welcome, everyone. We'll switch over to our other slides now and start the presentation. One moment, please. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our second lecture in this fall's series, this American Center of Research lecture. As you will see in our forthcoming newsletter and other bits as we post, we are in the throes of our name change, which we're very excited to share with you here. We're also very excited to share some other bits of news before we get to our prime feature this evening. Foremost, we have a series of fellowships forthcoming. The links are now live to consider and apply for these almost 24 fellowship opportunities. Applications will be due February 1st of next year. We're very excited if you will take a look at those and consider applying. Our next event, we will not do a third lecture in a row for this fall. We are going to have an online Wikipedia edit-a-thon on the theme of Jordanian academics. If you're interested in participating in this with our colleagues from the Jordan Open Source Association and Wikimedia Levant, we'd be very excited to have you. Please register your interests with us at acorjordan.org or contact any member of the staff and we will help get you signed up for that. Now on to our main event. It's a pleasure to introduce to you ACOR's very own Jihad Haron, who will talk to us tonight about heritage versus development, the Bayt Ras Tomb project. It's a really fantastic collaboration among an immense number of individuals and organizations that's brought this project to the fore and made it possible, something truly unique. Jihad, thank you so much for being with us this evening and for all of your colleagues who are working on the project. I know there are a number on the event with us, and we're very excited to hear from you. Take it away, sir.
Thank you, sir.
everyone. We are nearly there. Thank you. Jihad, we're sending reinforcements.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Now it's good, you can see. Good evening, everybody. Sorry for taking some minutes in the new technology. So please forgive me for taking 1 minute from your precious time. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Pierce Paul in person for his introduction and for ACOR's efforts really to take the initiative in saving one of the most exceptional discoveries in Jordan in the last 20 years. When we do, I do understand the importance of development, but not at the expense of a human heritage. How many important parts of history have been lost under bulldozers? Today, we present an important example of the importance of having a balance between development versus heritage. But before going to my presentation, on behalf of my colleagues, which I would like to thank him, Mr. Nizar Adarbe, and Mr. Ahmed Lash and Mr. Amjad Batani. I'm very fortunate that I'll be speaking tonight on behalf of them. Just starting with a quote. It's a long-lasting conflict. People are becoming more and more aware of how the dominance of development and business is altering their lives, and in particular, their own heritage. It's a quote from Robert Redford, which I will open my talk tonight. The hotspot. Suddenly in 2016, it was in November, that there's a big project in the city of Bayt. The government was intended to have a project to extend the sewage channel in the city of Bayt, and suddenly they have discovered a painted tomb. You can realize from the picture the harshness, and you can realize that this bulldozer was cutting part of the tomb while they are opening the sewage channel. Bayt, it's in the northern part of Jordan near the city of Erbil. And in the last 40 years, there was many surveys and excavations carried out by different scholars. And of course, they have found one painted tomb in the beginning of the 70s, and we have the theater, and we have 2 churches and the cistern, as you can see in the Google map. But when the Department of Antiquities, they found this tomb at that time, there was a critical decision. As you can see in the picture, you can see the Minister of Tourism, Lina Annab, the former Minister of Tourism, and the former Director General of the Department of Antiquities, Dr. Mudar Jamhawi, and Mr. Amjad al-Batani. He's now our member of our technical team. At that time, they entered the tomb, and they were really astonished with the richness of this discovery. And at that time, they thought, are we going to excavate this now? And I'm thankful for their right decision that they sealed and they closed the tomb until they can find the proper team who could dig and really who could really take over for excavating and preserving this important discovery. At that time, really, ACOR took the initiative in cooperation with the Department of Antiquities and CNRS, of course, to save this exceptional discovery, and approached USAID ship and other partners like you can see in the logos. We have IFBU, we have CNRS, we have ISCR, we have CNRS again, and we have ISPRA, and we have, of course, the USAID ship project, which funded and technically managed the whole project. We have 35 experts from different nationalities, from different expertise, whom are working on this exceptional discovery. As you can see now, we have a site in the middle of the street, near this gate, near one of the biggest schools in Bayt. So you can imagine we are dealing with daily cars. We are dealing with daily 1,000 children, students, whom are walking around the site. And thanks to the Department of Antiquities, they worked very hard with the municipality, Ministry of Education, and at last we can have a site. Of course, as you can see in my slide, we have the tomb entrance, we have a small gallery has been installed, and we have something called research office. But we are very glad at the end that we can work inside this compacted space, but at least we have a site. Before going to discovery, the historical context. During the Hellenistic period, the area known today as Jordan was one of the most prominent regions of the Levant. Due central location. During this time, several of the emerging cities in the southern region of the Levant sought to support one another by forming a league, referred to be, for some scholars, they call it Decapolis. Some they listed as 10 or more than that. In Jordan, we have 6 to 7 from Jadar and Qais. We have Bella, Tabaqat Fahel, and we have, of course, Philadelphia. We have Jarasa, and in addition, we have Capitolia, Bayt Ras. But there was still debate between different scholars about the existence of such league and the importance and the motivation behind this. Even Pompey, when he conquered the Levant, he revived and he supported this Decapolis again league to protect the Romans' trading routes and, of course, their limes, of course, their frontiers. Just two maps I want to show in my two maps that you can see the different Decapolis cities. You can see Capitolia, Dion, Bella, Syncythopolis to the west, Jadar, of course, and of course you can see on the other map we have the Roman provinces, we have Caesarea Maritima and Palestina Seconda, Palestina Prima. But keep in mind why I am pointing towards Caesarea at this point, because there was, of course, administrative Roman distribution at that time. But why Caesarea is very important in our presentation tonight. When we started to work in 2017 at the site, this was the plan, that we have two chambers, as you can see. There was, we can call it the Hippogem. Inside the Hippogem, it was curved into the limestone, bedrock, of course, approximately oriented to the cardinal points, consists of three parts. Firstly, there is a painted room, measures 6.7 to 5.7 meters. The floor, of course, paved with flagstones. And of course, there is a huge sarcophagus from basalt. It's a huge one. I'll show you in the coming slides how it's really huge. Of course, the sarcophagus was installed at the western part of the Hippogem, surrounded by a masonry structure, of course, preserved as a platform. At this height, the ceiling height was 2.5 meters. Secondly, there is a narrow opening you can see towards a very smaller chamber. It was plastered, only there is no any painted, but plastered with white, and of course it covered with white plaster. The north wall presents an opening giving an access, thirdly, to a burial. Of course, we have a door jamb. This is the original. But if you can ask me from where we start to work, this will be thanks to the bulldozer. He opened an open hole, we got entrance hole, which until now we are using until we can, of course, clean the original entrance of the Hippogem or the grave. What we did, I think we did the right decision. As archaeologists, the archaeologists always, they want to dig. They want to, have the trowels, they want to go inside, they want to clean the debris, they want to start sifting. But at that time, we hold on. Why? Due to the richness of the fresco, the mural paintings. At that time, we thought that we need to document, we need to preserve, we need to control the environment inside such important discovery, because we don't want to lose any part of the story. So what we did, that we covered all the debris with the geotextile, and of course, we installed humidity monitors, and we halted all the excavations. As you can see, we have humid monitoring and we have cracks monitoring, because we need to control and to ensure the proper monitoring for this exceptional discovery. What we did at the beginning, we did a geophysics survey thanks to ISPRA team. They carried out in 2017 and 2018 a very intensive geophysics survey inside, outside, and around, because we want to make sure that there's another tombs, because there was being one discovered in 1970s at this part of the school courtyard. School courtyard. Our site is here. The survey, the geophysics survey, resulted that there's many other tombs in the area. That means we are in a place could be called or labeled as the necropolis. Of course, at that time, due to our fears for giving the proper protection, we have noticed some cracks due to the bulldozing activities above the street at that time, because we are working, as I mentioned, we are working under the street. So which appears that we have some cracks. As you can notice from the slides, that we did a very intensive geotechnical survey. We identified the cracks, and we have installed scaffolding, special scaffolding, to hold some part of the ceiling in case of any emergency or any threats inside while we are working inside the site. If you are archaeologists and you have something very precious in your hands, the first thing, of course, to avoid excavations, but the first thing that you need to document. So we started documentation thanks to our CNRS colleagues, the epigraphist, and of course the documentation experts. They worked very hard in applying different methods, and of course for IFPO, this diversity of expertise was melted together to have a special documentation procedures, which was applied inside the tomb. You know, through photogrammetry, through different photos, and towards drawings, hand drawings, because this was very important to understand some features in the mural paintings, up to the new technologies called vectorization, which still we are working on finalizing the vectorization. Maybe in 2021, we can show the final result of our work in the vectorization, which will help us and, of course, enrich our understanding of the different scenes. Of course, the epigraphy, it's another story. The epigraphic material is organized in 4 groups. 3 Greek labels describing the gods of cities of Capitolia and Caesarea Maritima. 61 Greco-Aramaic sentences mainly describing workers' activities building the city. The later Greek inscription on the top red band, and the Arabic graffito, which is still under inspection. So imagine we have 65 inscriptions in a small chamber, just 6.7 by 6.5. So imagine this very intensive and richness inside the Hippogem. Just due to the, as said, due to the importance of saving the mural painting, of course, the ISCR team, they carried a very intensive 3 field missions. Those field missions were carried out to evaluate the state of conservation for the mural paintings, and of course to inspect if there are any bacterial infection inside the mural painting, and to avoid antibacterial, and of course to control the humidity inside. And we are very thankful for them to keep the colorful of the scenes until today as brand new until today. Big with excavations. Of course, in 2018, with the help of the IFPO team, who of course led the excavations inside the Hippogem, and of course it was our first season. We have worked just only for 2 seasons. We were, of course, we planned to work in 2020, but of course due to the global pandemic, the COVID-19, we have postponed our final season, which was planned, as I said, in 2020. And at this stage, I couldn't reveal more information about the excavations results because we're still working. There's many astonished results will be, of course, released and published until we can reach the final reports of the excavation, which we expected in 2022. But of course, I have mentioned about the huge basalt sarcophagus. And we were very surprised how this huge sarcophagus was really installed inside this Hippogem when it was converted to a tomb. It's 284 centimeters long, 108 centimeters the width, 113 centimeters high. And the cover was 283 centimeters. The front side is well dressed and bears a decoration. 2 lions' heads are carved in high relief and in each end holding ring. Of course, when it was open, there was some remains. Of course, we have the sarcophagus. There was many skeletal and bones remains inside, and we have the other 2 tombs in the small chamber. Just, I can give you an initial estimate that we have 24 individuals were recovered from the Petras Hippogem. 10 individuals were found inside the sarcophagus, the basalt sarcophagus. This is the plan after that 2 seasons of excavations. After 2 seasons of excavations, I can give initial description. Of course, we have identified 3 to 4 phases, historical phases. But at this stage, as I mentioned before, we will reveal those phases in the coming publications and the coming presentation after finalizing and finishing the excavations work, and of course finishing the C14 and DNA analyzing. What you can see in the plan today, something really could give you an idea about the importance of this Hippogem before it was converted to a tomb. Well, first of all, it was just only a banquet room, you can say. There was a benches, there was a lead pipe. You can imagine a lead pipe inside, and there was a special place to give, of course, maybe sacrifices or offering. And there was, of course, you can see the bench around, and there is an altar and the sarcophagus, and this is the original doorway and the jamb and the lintel, of course, but we didn't clear out the debris due to the risky situation inside. And you can see the flagstones, the pavement is still flagstones, but we're still having many debris. And why we are not in a hurry for the excavations, because many of the fresco bars collapsed from the ceiling, and now it has been mixed with the debris. Because of that, we need to be very sensitive while we are cleaning out and clearing out the debris. Why is this discovery exceptional? There are 103 scenes, 249 characters mixing humans and divinities, 22 domestic soleries, animals, camels, donkeys. On the ceiling, we have the scale of the mythological nerds and sea monsters. 10 are preserved from a total estimate of 20, are monumental. In the center, the Zodiac representation includes planets associated with the Zodiac signs. The number of figures and concentration of the scenes in one chamber is exceptional, and there is no equivalent for the Roman period. This is the experts. We, as an experts team, we believe in this until today. Now start the story. We talked about, the architectural plans, just in initial, but we can talk about more for a mural painting and the story behind the mural paintings. I'll be showing just only 20 seconds, a movie, just to be in the mood. I want you as an audience just to be part of our really exceptional experience tonight. In the video you have been exposed to the condensed and intense of figure scenes in one place. Now the story, how we can tell the story, how we can solve these puzzles. What's the relation between different scenes? Why there is donkeys, there is divinities, deities, landscaping, digging, building, creations, city walls, inscriptions, Zodiac. There was a story inside. The founder or the man who behind or regardless of whom did this creative job at that time, there was a mastermind behind presenting the story. And now we can say we have solved the beginning of the puzzle. And I can share with you the initial story, and the story starts from this part. So let's start the story. The first story, as I mentioned, all the original composition running along 3 walls of the tomb traces the founding of the city Capitolia in 6 panels, where the gods of Olympus, who preside over this process, come to lend a hand to mere mortals, from whom they receive tributes and returns, show the gods at the banquets. So there was a banquet, and of course we talked about this alcove, this small window, and it was partitioned into partitions, and indeed we think that there was something in as an offer to the goddess with their spouses. This was the first panel, that if it was a myth, it was a practice. If it was something the Decapolis cities or the Romans or the people at the southern Levant, they practiced to document the creation of a city, we're still thinking about those questions. The second part of the story, the mastermind and the master of that time, he insisted to give us a photo and a drawing of Bayt before being Capitolias, before building the city, the Decapolis city. You can see it was a ruler small town, and you can see, the different agricultural elements, like, the grapes and agricultural land. So it is landscape before starting building. And this, I think, is very clever and smart from the master who was behind this work, because he wants us to know that this was an open landscape, rural area. It was not before building the city at that time. So after getting the blessings from the goddess and the divinities, now the clearing the land. We saw the landscape before to be cleared out, and before the construction, the reconstruction work, you can see the different composition between the goddess divinities and the humans. They are trying to clear out the land and start, and of course clear the land for the construction activities. We can see Aphrodite on the left. She's working and giving hand to the people, and Artemis, of course, working on the other hand, and you can see the dates and the palm trees in that area. And there is a scene for a man who is digging the Hippogem, and there was more inscription, yeah, I am digging, Ana, even you can say in translation, Ana Nakaba, which is a well-known verb for nakab, for excavating. So you can see this man, he started the work inside the Hippogem. He is clearing and he's digging the Hippogem inside. One of the best master scenes, while if you are entering the Hippogem from the original door, directly you will be directed to the scene where Zeus on his throne. You can imagine that Zeus in the middle, and of course there's three inscriptions above Zeus, and Athene to his right and Athene, the fortune, to his left. Each of them is clearly identified by a painted Greek inscription. In the middle, Zeus Capitolis, which was of course Jupiter Capitolianus, who gave his name to Capitolias. To his right, the great Tyche, fortune, or guardian goddess of the city, and to his left, the specific Tyche of Caesarea Maritima, capital city of the province to which Capitolias belonged under the Roman Empire. So imagine, now we know that of course it was written in the historical resources about the relation, about the province of Caesarea Maritima, and the different relation between the Decapolis cities in northern Jordan, and its relation, governmental, administrative relation with Caesarea Maritima. So now we have Zeus in the middle. We know the fortune of the city which was Athens, and we have the name of the city. This is the first time in the Decapolis cities that we find the name of the city written inside the city. So I can say, welcome to Capitolias, Petras. Under the same scene, we can see the founder. Maybe he's the founder, the governor, the master man. We don't know his identity, his name, but we can see that he's with the two men offering a sacrifice on an altar. Each man wears a tunic. The one on the left also wears a toga, the most characteristic Roman dress, and he has his head covered in the Roman way. He is capit velito, which covered head. He holds a cup that contains liquid to be poured on the altar. Flames, as you can see, the flames are clearly visible on the altar. So you can see now we have another practice. At the first scene, we noticed there was blessings from deities, there was a banquet, and now we can see the real offerings with liquids to Zeus as a signal that we are towards the myth and towards the loyalty to the Roman administrative at that time. Now building the city wall. The artist and the mastermind and the engineers behind this exceptional work, as you can see, they did a lot of work. It was a very sensitive work while they are depicting the scenes inside the city, building the city wall. As you can imagine, the condensed and the intense of number of the scenes inside this panel. Just focus more inside this panel. You can see the different techniques, the different building the city. You can see like we have the walls using wooden ladders and installing ramparts. As you can see, we have hard laborers. They are carrying on their shoulders the stones from the quarries to the masons up, and they are using rampart. And on the other hand, the other part of the scene, you can see the workers. They are, of course, getting another materials, but they are using a wooden ladder. That means there was many questions in the past from different scholars and different even students and different people, how the old time they built these huge walls, what kind of techniques they were using. As you can see, they used rampart, sand and soil rampart, and they used ladder, wooden ladder as tools to help them in building the big walls of the city. Of course, there was engineers. And of course, if anyone of the engineers now is with us, he will be glad. The engineers are very old, work. As you can see, there was 2 engineers. They were monitoring, they were working, they were using their own tools, level and plumps. So just message to the surveyors and engineers, you have an old generations of hard working and of course traditions. So the engineers, they were monitoring and they were working very hard to ensure the proper elevation for the construction. The ceiling is another story. The ceiling depicts the signs of zodiac and planets and in a circular composition, surrounded by nerds and sea monsters and booty. The size of the figures on the ceiling is more important. It's 1 meter high minimum, several nerds on the marine horse, marine panther. As you can see, the ceiling with the zodiac, with the seas, with the sea, and of course the sea goddess. That means this was very important. If you are building and creating a zodiac with the sea scenes, and of course different goddess and different 5 nerds and 5 sea monsters, 5 beauties, zodiac planet. That means there is richness inside, and we don't know why they spend these efforts in doing such important work. This, one of the good scenes always I would like to share with you. You can see we have Triton and we have Iris in our scenes. Both are spectacular by their shape and color. Eros are playing with dolphins and are windsurfing with a sail amphora. You can see the amphora. They are surfing using the amphora. Of course, we have different interpretation why they are using the amphora. Maybe it was a symbol of trading, to symbol of wine trading, because Petras was well known for its well known for producing wine, even in Roman and later periods. How about music? Do you like music? At that time, of course, there was the lyre. But as you can imagine, this small lyre, this one, with 5-stringed musical instrument. It's 5-stringed. Until today, we have even in Jordan and even some within the small cities near the Red Sea, we have something called simsimiyya. And of course, simsimiyya still using the 5-stringed, as you can see, and it's very similar with some similarity, with some differences, but I think it's the same musical instrument which has been inherited until today and still in use, of course, and in function. Now, if you are in a construction work, many workers, of course, there was pressure on the workers, on the masons, there was incidents. And this is the smartest, why the mastermind, why the founder at that time, why the engineer, regardless of his name, why he insisted even to document all the incidents happened while the construction activities. As you can see from the translation and the incident, one of the workers has been slipped and fall down from the wall while he was working. And you can see the inscription, "Alas for me, I am dead." And there was fights because, in each community, working community, sometimes you will find disputes. So there was a fight, and you can see from the depictions, even the fights has been documented in the scenes. Of course, there was a human labor, but you need the animal labor. And of course, the camel was one of the best animal who could lift up a huge quantity and amount of of stones from the quarry to the construction space and spot. So the camel caravan was there, and we have donkeys or mules. We will not, despite the term, but we can say donkeys and hard labor. So they were mixing animals and the human labor at the same time. But how about organizational work? Is there was like a director for the work or a manager for the work, a foreman? Yes, it was. As you can see from the scene, this man is sitting and there's an office. There's a table and a chair, and he's wearing his official wear. And you can see the workers, either they are calling for work or even they want their wages. You can see down their tools, that be the baskets and their tools, maybe hoods and metal rods. But as you can see, all the workers, they are gathering, maybe they are shouting, maybe they are asking for work or to raise their wages. Maybe they need to raise their salaries. Who's those? Who's this? This portrait, all of us always as an experts working in this Hippogem or his tomb, in this tomb, always we are looking toward this portrait. Who is this? This man standing and wearing a tunic is oriented to the opening leading to the small white plastered room, but his head is oriented slightly back. He wears a strong black necklace, not decorative, and his hands are large compared to the size of his head. His right hand holds a handle of a kind of circular container with a curved lid. These two elements probably in metal present 19 holes from which lines escape in all directions. His right hand grabs a fabric of a color similar to that of his tunic. Suppose a servant carrying a portable brazier with incense, maybe as incense, or the towel he holds, like some people call it mappa, but also the sandals he wears could be explained by the fact he has to pick up embers in a hot fireplace. So we are still looking for the identity. If anyone knows this guy, just please call us. Now to the dating. Of course, we did 2 seasons of excavations. We have some pottery, we have some elements. We did C14. We are in the middle of completion the C14. We are in the middle of completion the DNA. But now we can confident to say that this Hippogem was used in different phases, at least from 3 to 4 phases. It started from the 1st century AD until the 5th century AD. So this span of time, we have different phases, has been many changes carried out from the locals for this Hippogem. We did C14 analysis for selected samples, and we have more in the process. We are working currently on the DNA analysis for the bones. Of course, all those results will be in the coming research publications, and if there will be any space for coming lectures, we will present some of those results. Well, if you are presenting a presentation, at the end of your presentation, the audience, they are expecting conclusions. But today, for me, I will not give conclusions because the work is still on. We are still working. We are still searching. We are still researching. We are still doing some analysis in different labs. Despite the pandemic, we stopped. We halted the field, but the research work, we are still working heavily because we know that many researchers, many scholars around the world, and Jordanians and non-Jordanians, all of them, they are waiting for results. They are waiting for answers. But let me present some questions, which really as a team, Mr. Nizar and Mr. Ahmed and Mr. Amjad, and of course our international respected colleagues from CNRS, from IFBO, from ISPRA, from SR, all of them, and of course above them our colleagues from ACOR, always we are asking questions which we are looking for answers. Why did the people of Petras created this Hippogem in the Roman period? Is there was it was a practice, or it was a sign of loyalty, or the founder of the city, he wanted to document this creation of the city and why he want to do that, or the group of people at that time who came up with this idea. Second, why did they converted the Hippogem with this richness of fresco, mural paintings? Why they converted to be, in the late Roman, to be a tomb? Because it was not a tomb at the beginning. Why did they document the story of the city creation, using fresco and mural painting? It was really expensive and took efforts and time and money, I'm sure. Why they chose to create this Hippogem in the city necropolis? Why they didn't create this Hippogem inside the walls of the city? Why it was built in the necropolis, where the dead in the beginning? Does the 61 inscription in local Aramaic dialect using Greek letters indicates the inhabitants' identity? This could lead us that the southern Levant people, the local inhabitants, or the northern part inhabitants of Jordan in the Roman period, in the Decapolis cities, they were, of course, using local Aramaic dialect, and when it comes to writing, they were using the Greek letters. They want to show their identity, and they want to show that their modernization, because if you want to use Greek letters, that means you are intellectual, according to some scholars. Can we claim that we have mural paintings tradition school has emerged in northern Jordan, started late Hellenistic Roman periods, and continued through later periods? Can we say that? Of course, I don't have answers for such questions. I have some speculations. I have some ideas. Of course, when you say we as a team have some ideas, some speculations, some answers, but we, of course, we will not release until we can finish up the excavations and all the analysis needed after the excavations. Well, just a question. Imagine that we have lost this exceptional tomb under the construction works. Imagine that the bulldozer at that day, the driver of the bulldozer didn't stop. Imagine that he just went inside the tomb and he demolished and destroyed these exceptional discoveries. Imagine that we lost this rich informations which will never be retrieved again. A quote from my friend, the architect Yasmin Larry. She's a heritage activist in Asia, and I really have the pleasure to accompany her 2 days in the World Heritage Sites. She told, there is nothing wrong with building contemporary structures. Every city needs them, but there is no need to destroy one's heritage in the process. As said in the beginning of my lecture, that there will be a forthcoming Petras lecture, of course, and hopefully ACOR will host them. As always, we do believe of ACOR mission to host important lectures. We have many topics to talk about, like the best practice in CRM, geological and geophysics survey, the first aid and mural painting conservation, the old dialect in North Jordan, new techniques in documentation, and of course the carbon-14 and DNA analysis. In my lecture today, I didn't present 3 years of work, the capacity we did, the documentation, the real analysis for geophysics and geotechnical, the work of the conservation and different approaches and methodologies. But my aim was to raise the importance of heritage versus development. We do believe with development, but please keep in your mind to save your heritage and to you can convey the message to the coming generations. And thank you all for your kind listening. Hopefully I did good job tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jihad. It really was exceptional. It's a wonderful site that we're extremely fortunate to have available to us from which to learn going forward. Again, everyone, it would be our pleasure if you'll join us in the future when we have other possibilities and other topics that we hope to continue building on and build on this discussion. I will go through and see if there are some questions here that we can tend in this panel. Let me see what we have at the moment. Jihad, are you able to comment, or is this perhaps a question for one of our colleagues at a later time, about the different pigments that were used among the individuals? Is there a correlation? Is there a known understanding about essentially the skin color with the individuals and perhaps their origins, etc.?
Well, there are some questions about, the colorful and the different, from where they got the material to color this. Of course, the decoration, that there is many studies for the Roman fresco and Roman, and the different materials has been applied and used from the region, and of course it was mineral, and it was of course from the same region. So I don't have a specific answer.
I think that might be for one of our art experts later on.
Yes, indeed. Claude, you can answer.
Let me see if we have others. There's
yes.
A great deal of congratulations on your presentation, which I share, and of course, congratulations to all of the colleagues involved in the work. There are questions. Are there similar known tombs in other parts of Jordan?
Well, it's for the Bayt, yes. Even we have, as I said, we have in Guelbe, nearby, we have in Soum, we have, of course, in Bayt Ras itself, the well-known 1973 tomb, which was documented by our colleague Claude in 1981. But of course, that tomb was really built as a tomb at the beginning, and there was the painting inside was talking about the story of Troy, and it is a very important one. And when we were working, even there was under the construction nearby our tomb, we have found one, but unfortunately, they didn't give us the company. They didn't give us the time even to document. So there's many tombs around. For the similarity, yes, but the exception of our tomb is the scenes and the depictions and the story behind, which already was on the mural paintings. If you allow me, Pierce, there's a question from Alison.
Yes.
So what are the plans for the future of the site? Are there plans to open it or parts of it to tourist visitors? It's a very important question. And even daily, when we be at the site, our colleagues, they are asking the same questions. Of course, the ownership of the site for the Department of Antiquities, Ministry of Tourism. But due to the sensitivity of the site and the complications to control the environment and to save the site, we are planning, we have different ideas, but let us finish the excavations. Let us take care of the conservation part. Then at that point, we can move towards proper future tourism plan. We have ideas. We have still ideas, still immature, but of course it will be in the future, it will be shared in the coming future.
Wonderful. So there's a pair of questions about the frescoes. One is, are you able to talk about the digital preservation and recording documentation methods used for the frescoes? And then has the collaboration considered looking at mosaics as parallels for the frescoes?
Well, of course, our colleague from CNRS, of course, Dr. Claude, and we have an external heritage expert who one of the best, Jean Amber. Both they are working intensively on analyzing. We are using different technologies, different softwares, from, as I said, from hand drawings towards the complicated softwares. We are studying the layers of the fresco itself. We are studying the color inside the frescoes. Even we are studying the mistakes of the artist at that time, because there are some mistakes while he was painting some scenes inside. Yes, we are working on parallel examples and methods, and of course the digital preservation, it's one of those applications. But of course we need time to release the results. Hopefully 2021 we can publish something we could tell some answers to the questions.
At this time, are you able to say anything about the range of individuals, the human remains? Were there any patterns observed? Maybe this may or may not be a thing that's ready for public dissemination, but.
Yes. As said in my lecture, we identified 27. But of course, we did some intensive analysis to the patterns, and of course, we are working on the DNA. Of course, we are not in a status now to declare and to release some information. This will be in the coming publications.
Wonderful. And we have more questions, but I think we will end it here. I will encourage everyone to please write Jihad and his colleagues directly. You can, of course, send any questions to acor@acorjordan.org, and we will make sure that you get connected appropriately. We're very grateful for all of you joining us, and we hope to see you again online and one day in person here. Jihad, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all. Good evening. Thank you.